Yay, look at that, we're recording. Woo!
Woo!
Anyway, hello.
Hello there.
I got distracted with something and then I didn't do the other thing I needed.
I'm just proud of us because we're now on recording our third episode of the day. We are cranking it out.
We are.
Woo! We're batch recorders, folks. We are batch recorders.
We are very much batch recorders, and I can't believe we actually got all this recorded.
Yeah.
So let's jump into it. What are you reading?
I am reading The Terror by Dan Simmons. This is the first book that we're reading in the book club that I host on Fable called the Chunky Books Club. We read chunky books, 500 pages or more across multiple genres. So we're reading The Terror. I've only just begun, so I'm going to read the inside flap and just tell you what I thought about the first chapter. The men on board HMS Terror have every expectation of triumph. As part of the 1845 Franklin expedition, the first steam-powered vessels ever to search for the legendary Northwest Passage, they are as scientifically supported an enterprise as has ever set forth. As they enter a second summer in the Arctic Circle without a thaw, though they are stranded in a nightmarish landscape of encroaching ice and darkness, endlessly cold with diminishing rations, 126 men fight to survive with poisonous food, a dwindling supply of coal, and ships buckling in the grip of crushing ice. But their real enemy is far more terrifying. There is something out there in the frigid darkness, an unseen predator stalking their ship, a monstrous terror constantly clawing to get in. The first chapter is so foreboding, just like you just know terrible things are going to happen.
Terrible things do happen to these people. They all die.
Hello. And I am so excited. I like how it's written so far. It's set up perfectly, in my opinion, because it just like, gets your brain working and gets you all peaked for whatever goodness he's going to write in these further pages. So I'm only one chapter in. I'm going to read more tomorrow to dig deeper into it, but I'm very excited. I've wanted to read this book for a really, really long time. I finally found this beautiful hardcover copy at McKay earlier last year in 2024. So I'm just super psyched that this is our first read. The Terror by Dan Simmons.
I didn't know they made, I mean, it makes sense, but just like the fact that whole thing occurred is terrifying.
Yeah.
The thing that's out there to get them is called hypothermia. Like, that's what's gonna happen.
So excited.
Yeah. Anyway, so I am very slowly reading through, like when I have a moment, I pick it up on my book phone. I pick up my hard copy or whatever, but I'm reading Edith Wharton's autobiography, A Backward Glance. Autobiographies are interesting because they are what you want them to be, right? So like she's definitely, you got to take some things with a grain of salt, right? But
Yeah.
it's interesting. I mean, she starts with like her first memory at like 3 or something in this little bonnet she wears, and the clothing is really interesting. It's like so sumptuous. Like she's talking about her mom and growing up and like the things she would wear, and like just life isn't that beautiful anymore. I mean, we have acrylics from Shein, it's different. It's just freaking different.
Yeah.
I'm not very far into it. I'm only like a chapter and a half in. But like I said, I'm just going slow. And I just kind of find some things funny. Like I find it funny that she seems to call herself middle class. And I don't think that you can come from like the old Knickerbocker, like families of New York and be middle class. Like I don't think that that's how that works. Or maybe we just use that term very differently.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's kind of jarring to see. You're like, babe, you're not middle class.
Right.
You spend your summers in your cottage that's 6 times the size of my house in Newport. You're not middle class.
Right.
But it's been interesting. And yeah, so that's I'm just going through that,
Hey.
to once again talk
Yep.
about my year with Edith Wharton. So there's all these little supplementary readings I'm doing that are not sort of part of the reading along unless you want to do them. You can also pick them up and read them at your leisure. But yeah, it's nice. I think she's got a really interesting life.
Mhm.
She's born into this very wealthy family in New York. They live around like Washington Square Park, and they eventually, like right after the Civil War, when the US dollar is sort of undervalued, they end up moving to Europe for quite some time. But you also learn through this that like her parents traveled quite a bit anyway. Like when they had her older brother, with like their first kid, like they took him around, and like it's like the mid 1800s, and you're just traveling around Europe with like no railroads, no nothing, with like like a toddler, right? A
Right.
newborn baby. So this is even, I know that they're living quite lavishly, but, like, it's still kind of rough riding. It's not like you're on
Right.
you're not flying first class, you know?
For
Um,
sure.
but it's it's so she spent all this time in Europe when she was young, like, I think around 4, she moves there, um, to have to save some money, basically. Her family just travels around Europe. Imagine that. Travels around Europe for, several years, and she comes
Right.
back several years later, and she's like, "New York's disgusting." Like, compared
Gross.
to seeing, like, Rome
Yeah.
and all these like, Paris and all these places in Europe that have, like, culture and history and beauty and art, and New York's just not it. So
Yeah.
she's so disappointed, and she's just such a different person than, what she's supposed to be. I mean, she's supposed to be bred to get married, be a hostess, have children, et cetera, and she
Yeah.
wants to sit and make up stories, and she wants to write, and she's just a little different, and she does do a lot of the things. She does get married, she doesn't have children.
Mhm.
I guess she was kind of a hostess, but, she writes. Like, she's just this wonderfully complex person, right? Like, she's got lots of things that you could criticize her for. Like, she's a snob. She
Mhm.
has like there's she's not immune to like the problems of her class, right? So as much as she writes these novels that look at the underbelly of high society,
Mhm.
she is not separate from, and I don't know if she thought she really was.
Right.
And she may be quite a bit, she holds prejudices. I don't think she was a feminist. She doesn't believe in the vote. She thought that was silly. You know, like, but she's still like this really fascinating woman, right?
Oh
So
my gosh.
she did so many interesting things. So I feel like I kind of like these older, whether they admit it or to themselves or not, feminist characters in our history, because
Right.
they're not like, whether you believe in the things that we looking back, would believe in or think you believe in, like voting, um, you
Oh,
kind of
that
are.
thing?
You decided to do something that a woman wouldn't do. I mean, you could do it because you were a white woman of privilege.
Yeah.
Always important to remember that. But you did something that like other white women of privilege weren't doing, right? So you stepped out of that box, and somebody has to step out of the box, right?
Yeah.
Somebody has to take those steps. So
Yep.
whether you agree with the suffrage movement or not, you are kind of a part of it. Like, you
Absolutely.
just
Yep.
like in some tangential way, you are. So, I don't know, I just find her really
Yeah.
interesting. I
That is
like these
interesting.
really complex characters. I mean, like, for like, just to keep going on about Virginia Woolf, because that's what I do, like, she's an incredibly complex person. I mean, she makes
Right.
incredibly anti-Semitic comments about her husband, who's Jewish,
Mm.
all the time, but she loves Leonard. Like,
Wow. Yeah.
so she's not necessarily, like, the nicest person,
Yeah.
but there are all these people in our world that are really important to
Mhm.
the progression of movements, and they're also human and they have flaws, and I like being able to look at the good and the bad and kind of just taking the whole picture in. So It's gonna
I
be
like it.
interesting to keep going with Edith. Good old
I like it.
Edie. I don't think she would like being called Edie. She probably
Yeah.
won't. Um,
Sounds like she would actually despise that.
probably, but she really
Yeah.
liked dogs, so we would get
Oh, well,
on.
there you go.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, what are we doing here today?
Today we're going to share some of our anticipated releases that are coming out this spring. So I'm excited for that.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, I didn't want to do that. Hold on. Exit full screen. I don't need to see everything. Okay. It's a little complex for me. I've got my slides up
Uh-oh.
and I forget how to do this every
Uh-oh.
time. But we're here.
Ooh,
We got them. We got them.
we're
So
doing it. We're doing it.
we have 5. I
Mm-hmm.
put them in pub order, so we're
Okay.
gonna have to go back and forth. And away we go with yours. You're first.
Yay! Glory Days. This is the second book in the Glory Broussard mystery. I talked about book one, Glory B, on this podcast in 2024 and how enjoyable that was. So I'm really excited to get back to Miss Glory. Let me make sure that I can read a little bit of this, um, the back of this book. I think I can. I don't think it spoils anything, just making sure. Okay. Um, so I'm gonna skip that part. So apparently in this book, she is Glory herself is getting ready to plan her Sunday morning routine and as a bookie and plan her church's annual Mardi Gras gala. But there's no rest for Glory once the woman who broke up her marriage walks into Cece's coffee house and asks for help finding her missing husband. It doesn't take long before Glory finds him with a knife impaled in his chest. No one knew that man. No one knew the man and his dark side better than Glory, who would rather let the local authorities take the lead. But Glory's daughter, struggling with problems of her own, insists on her involvement. Glory's search for the murderer takes her deep inside the seedy world of Louisiana casinos and racetracks, from high roller VIP rooms to stables filled with thoroughbred horses and shady dealings. As if solving a murder with the woman who broke up her marriage isn't enough, Glory has to get to the bottom of her daughter's secrets, and there are a few members of her church group who would love her gala to be a bust. Sounds good to me. I'm all for it. Glory's a really fun character. She has a lot of personality and she's quite sassy, and I enjoy her a great deal. So that's Glory Days, and that comes out March 4th from Pegasus Crime. And thank you, Pegasus, for sending me an early copy.
I was like so confused when I was looking at the graphics because I was like, that's not the name of it. It's not Glory B, it's Glory.
Book two.
It does sound fun. I like you gotta love someone just being found with a knife in their chest.
Exactly.
Oh, I think we're in a glut of meat. Okay. So Stag Dance by Tori
Oh, I want to
Peters.
read that.
Absolutely loved Detransition Baby. So this follows
Same.
a group of women who gather for a bachelorette party weekend at a cabin in the Catskills. Marin, our main character, is struggling with her best friend's upcoming wedding while dealing with her own complex feelings about marriage and commitment. The novel explores themes of friendship, gender, and the evolving nature of relationships in contemporary society. As the weekend unfolds, long held secrets and tensions emerge among the group, leading to revelations that change their understanding of themselves and each other. Very excited. It's supposed to have like sharp social commentary and great character development, just like we've seen before. And I'm just super psyched for Stag Dance. That comes out.
Yes.
I can't read that. When does it come out? It comes out March 11th from Penguin. You think I would have put the dates in both places so that I could read them, but I didn't. So,
That's
bear with me.
fine. Yeah, I'm excited
I'm
for that one too.
very excited. And I love the cover. Absolutely love it.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yes.
think Ink and Paper blog just talked about this. I just saw like a thumbnail or something.
Yeah, he did.
So I have to go watch this review.
Yep.
Um I love all things tuberculosis. So when I saw
Mm-hmm.
that John Green has a new nonfiction coming out, Everything is Tuberculosis, I had to put it on this list because yeah, like I did a senior seminar on tuberculosis. I love tuberculosis. It's a fascinating little disease. It also has like quite a social history. It comes up a lot as a literary device. It's fascinating. So I'm not surprised
Yeah.
that John Green latched onto this and wrote a book about it. But this is exploring the history and the impact of tuberculosis on human civilization. It examines how TB has shaped art, literature, and social movements throughout history. He weaves together personal narratives with historical research to show how tuberculosis influenced everything from romantic poetry to urban planning. It covers the development of antibiotics, the rise of sanatoriums, and the ongoing global health challenges of TB today. It's actually kind of on the rise again, which is, I think
That's
it's the number
scary.
one killer again. It it's been the number one killer for a really long time, like globally, and then it wasn't, and then I think it is again. So that's kind of scary. And that comes out March 18th. It's from Penguin. It's from Crash Course something or other, whatever his little press is, I guess,
Yeah.
under there. And then my next one, and then I think it's Naomi. Excellent. You don't have to listen to my voice for too long. Is McNally is doing a reprint of The King of a Rainy Country by Bridget Brophy.
Mm.
This originally was published in 1956 and sounds phenomenal. I also have been going down a McNally kick this past year, like the latter half of 2024, and it's going to continue. I can't wait for my next like little surprise. I do their subscription, and I can't wait for their next little like, here are your
Yeah.
books. Um, but this follows Susan, an intelligent young lady, a young woman in London who works at a small theatrical company, and it explores her relationship with her roommate Cynthia as they share and their shared fascination with an opera singer named Monique. It's supposed to have witty prose and be a sophisticated exploration of sexuality, gender roles, and artistic ambition. Susan and Cynthia embark on a journey to Venice in pursuit of Monique. There's desire, identity, love. It's queer. It's sounds phenomenal. Great
Mm.
cover. There's always a great
That
cover with
is a fantastic
McNally.
cover.
And this McNally is going to be out on the 1st of April. And now it's
Very
you
nice.
for a bit. Now it's you for a bit.
Okay, Vanishing World by one of my favorites, Sayaka Murata. Vanishing World comes out. Oh, I'm sorry, and it's translated from the Japanese by Jenny Tapley Takamore or Takemore. And it's out from Grove Press on April 15th and out from Granta on April 24th. So it says, as a girl, Amane or Amane, not sure, realizes the horror that her parents copulated in order to bring her into the world. Rather than using artificial insemination, which became the norm in the mid 20th century, Amane strives to get away from what she considers an indoctrination in this strange system by her mother. But her infatuations with both anime characters and real people have a sexual force that is undeniable. As an adult in an appropriately sexless marriage, sex between married couples is now considered as taboo as incest. Amane and her husband Saku decide to go and live in a mysterious new town called Experiment City or Paradise Eden, where all children are raised communally, and every person is considered a mother to all children. Men are beginning to become pregnant using artificial wombs that sit outside of their bodies like balloons, and children are nameless, called only Kodomo Chan or Chan. Is this the new world that will purify Aman of her strangeness once and for all? Look, Sayaka Murata for me just always hits a weird mark, and I'm very excited to read this book. She does strange very well. So that is The Vanishing World by Sayaka Murata, translated from the Japanese by Jenny Chapley Tickmore, out from Grove Press on April 15th and out from Granta on April 24th.
You know, as much as most of that sounds pretty horrible, if men want to have external wombs, I don't think we're going to fight them.
Right. Exactly. Do it.
just, just for any scientists listening.
Exactly.
Your next
Okay.
one. This
Yes.
cover, woo,
Isn't it just,
is
it's,
spicy.
yeah. The Fantasies of Future Things by Doug Jones, out from Simon and Schuster on April 22nd. Daily interactions between Jacob and Daniel are a power keg of sexual tension and uncertainty. A recent Morehouse graduate and Brooklyn transplant, Jacob fears that accepting the truth of his sexuality will disappoint the hopes his parents have for him to lead a respectable life. Grieving the death of his mother while searching for answers about a father he has never known, Daniel, an Atlanta native, has resigned himself to the reality that men who love men don't have happy endings. When Jacob meets Sherman, a social worker fighting for one of the families being displaced by the project, he must decide if rejecting security is worth the risk of embracing the unknown. In the midst of navigating his grief and volatile relationship with Jacob, Daniel learns of his father's identity. Though meeting his father could provide Daniel with the closure he has always sought, the distance between what Daniel wants and what he's willing to do for it remains a question only he can answer. This is so high on my list. I can't wait to read this.
Sounds really, really good. I was like, ooh, when I
Yeah.
was putting together slides. And then this next one is you too. And I was like, I forgot that I sent this to you. So I forgot that it was coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Medicine River, a story of survival and the legacy of Indian boarding schools by Mary Annette Pember. Out April 22nd from Pantheon. And thank you, Pantheon, for this gifted copy. So
Jelly.
it says, from the mid 19th century to the late 1930s, tens of thousands of Native children were pulled from their tribal homes to attend boarding schools whose stated benevolent aim was to save them by way of assimilation into American life. In reality, boarding schools sponsored by the U.S. government, but often run by various religious orders with little to no regulation, were a calculated attempt to dismantle tribes by pulling apart Native families. Children were beaten for speaking their native languages, denied food, clothing, and comfort, and forced to work menial jobs in terrible conditions, all while utterly deprived of love and affection. Ojibwe journalist Mary Pember's mother was forced to attend one of those institutions in northern Wisconsin. The impacts of her experience cast a pall over Pember's own childhood and her relationship with her mother. Highlighting both her mother's experience and the experience of countless other students at such schools, their families, and their children, Medicine River paints a stark portrait of communities still reckoning with the legacy of acculturation and abuse that has affected generations of Native families. Through searing interviews and careful reporting, Pember traces the evolution and continued rebirth of cultures whose country has been seemingly intent on eradicating them. Very, very excited to read this book. I think it is going to be a huge eye opener. So, yeah.
Yeah. When I saw that come across my feed, I was like, oh, yeah, we need to read that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh,
Indeed.
hold on. The children are upset.
Well, they also want to read it. So,
They're very excited. They're very excited about Medicine River.
yeah.
All right. So my next
Mm-hmm.
one, you knew this was going to be on here, is
I
The
sure
Emperor of
did.
Gladness. The Emperor of Gladness by Ocean Vuong. I'm eagerly awaiting this. I did not realize this is like 400 pages. Okay.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah.
This centers on a Vietnamese American artist navigating grief, family relationships, and the intersection of art and healing in contemporary America. Through his signature poetic prose, Vaughn explores the life of a young painter who returns to his childhood home after a personal tragedy. It weaves between past and present, examining themes of intergenerational trauma, queer identity, and the power of art as both destruction and salvation. It sounds so good. I'm so excited
Oh,
for it.
yeah.
I'm so squint. It comes out May 13th. From
Yes.
Penguin. And if anybody from Penguin is listening, I would die for an arc. Okay, anyway, that's
Me too, please. Thank
it.
you.
I don't beg for
Thank
things often.
you.
I'm going to beg for an ocean bomb. So, and then this one sounded really good. You had some really interesting stuff
Yes.
on here.
Okay, this book is a knife, Radical Working Class Strategies in the Age of Climate Change by L.E. Fox. And this is coming out from Arsenal Pulp Press on May 13th. It says, despite the naysayers, climate change is a fact. We know that global temperatures are rising, that weather patterns are changing, that forest fires, droughts, flooding, severe storms, and heat waves are the new normal. We know this planet is teetering on the edge of climate collapse, an apocalyptic event that threatens not only the future of human civilization, but also the millions of other unique life forms on Earth. We know it's all our fault. It's the direct result of human beings burning fossil fuels and spewing out carbon emissions at such a fantastic pace that we've changed the fate of the entire planet, and it leaves most of us feeling helpless. What could any of us really do? The book is a knife. This book is a knife is a startling essay collection that explores the origins and dangers of climate change through a critique of capitalism and an exploration of the ways in which we might radically reimagine our world before it's too late. I saw this and was like, yeah, pre-ordered immediately. This is a must read in my opinion. So I am very excited for this one.
Hmm. And then finally, we have a book I was rejected on NetGalley for,
What?
Immaculate Conception by Ling Ling Huang.
That cover is
I
amazing.
loved that's not right. I absolutely love Natural Beauty. And this looks so good. Sorry, I have like the wrong summary thing here, so that's not gonna
Okay.
help anybody. So let me get the right summary so I can tell you the right stuff. So Natural Beauty was fantastic. I really like these kind of literary creepy horrors. They're really
Mm-hmm.
great for me. This is Enka meets Mathilde at art school, and Mathilde is this dazzling, talented yet tortured artist whose stars on the rise. And Enka, probably Enka, is struggling to make art that feels original and is immediately drawn to Mathilde. They strike up an intense bond that soon turns codependent. Um, but when Mathilde's fame reaches new heights, Enka becomes desperate to keep her friend close, no matter the cost. Um, she quickly falls in love with a billionaire, Enka, whose family company is funding an unconventional technology purported to heighten empathy, which could allow someone else to inhabit Mathilde's mind and absorb the trauma from her brain. Soon, the boundaries between Mathilde and Enka begin to blur even further, setting to motion a disturbing series of events that forever changes their lives.
Mm.
Creepy,
Yeah.
weird, obsessive, strange, has art in it. It's like, yeah, it's me. I want to read
Yeah.
it. Cover, banging.
The cover is just fantastic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think I'm gonna have to eventually order Natural Beauty because every single time last year, whenever I went out looking for, do my book thrifting thing, I never see that book. So you know me, I'll give it a year. Like I'll hunt for something for a year,
Yeah.
sometimes two, and then I'll just when I really want to read it, it's like okay, I have to order it now. So I think I'm gonna have to do that. This sounds incredible.
Yeah, it does sound just, like, simply amazing, so I'm really excited for it, and this is out from Dutton on May 13th. So
Mm.
go get it and read Natural Beauty because it's really good too.
Yeah.
Mhm. 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 Alright, so we're gonna
Yes.
go back to woo, here we are. We're back
Here
to where
we
we
are.
started.
Bing bing.
Hello. I do love the slides. I feel like I'm a little teacher.
It's nice. I like it. I like when
Mhm.
you do that. Yeah.
Mhm. It's like we're profesh.
Well, so those are some of our upcoming anticipated spring releases. I'm glad. Look, I asked you how many because I was going to go crazy on my list. I was like, no, let me just simmer that down. So I'm glad you said five each. But
Lady, I
really,
got
like
I
my
got
list has so many.
lady, I am still in the midst of this very intense reading competition, okay?
Oh, right, right. I keep forgetting. You're like, look here. You don't understand the
You don't
depth of this
understand.
thing.
If my team loses, I will be so upset, okay? Christmas
Whew.
already messed me up.
Right, right.
We gotta come back strong, all right? We
Yeah,
got 5 books. Yeah, streamline stuff today so I can get back to
yeah,
reading.
yeah. I hear you. I look. I'm not going to get in the way of that. Okay, I'm not.
No, no. There's points. There's points,
Right.
Naomi.
I understand. I understand.
I'm getting really tired of reading from these prompts. It's becoming a bit much.
Yeah, yeah. I hear that. Okay,
Anywho, is it book recommendation time?
it is. It
All
is.
right, what do you got?
You're not going to believe this. You are not gonna believe this. Who am
I'm
I?
scared. What do you
I
like?
read a
Sarah
romance
J. Maas?
novel.
Sort of where I was going. What did you read?
I not only read a romance novel, but I like thoroughly enjoyed it. I read Perfect Timing by Brenda Jackson. When I was in McKay the last time, I just grabbed this. I was like, oh, this sounds good.
Hmm.
And it was so great. So let me get these names right. All right. Maxine Chandler and Maya Rivers are friends who met when they were children, and they were like thick as thieves until they got to the end of high school. And while they were planning to both go to the same university, Maya at the last minute decided she was going to follow her um, boyfriend to another college in another state. And their friendship kind of like, fell off from there, and they really haven't been close. I mean, they communicate every now and then, but it hasn't been the same, and they lost some of that closeness. Maxine was engaged to a wonderful man, and a couple of weeks before their wedding, he was murdered. So she's been dealing with that. Um, they are getting ready to have their class reunion, and Maya and her husband are going to attend, and Maxine decides she's going to go. There's another guy in the picture. What is his name? Garrett? I think no, not Garrett. Christopher, another classmate of theirs, he decides to go. And what Maxine doesn't know is that when they were in high school, Christopher had the biggest crush on Maxine. And Christopher made it known to all the other guys in the school, like, although Maxine and I aren't boyfriend and girlfriend, still she's off limits. So basically, back the F off, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there was a mix up with the cruise ship because Maxine and Christopher have the same last name. So the cruise ship thought they were married. So they got put into the same room. And what do you know? They can't resolve because there are no other rooms available. So they have to spend these next 7 days in this room on this cruise ship together.
Heaven forbid. And is there
And
just one bed?
no, there's not one bed. There's not one bed. There's two. There's one bed that was made into two, and they broke it up. And so
Okay.
they
They
get
can put it back
real
together. Yeah.
with one another on this cruise, right? They get to have
Oh,
long
do
discussions,
they?
and oh yeah, all that good stuff. So anyway, so they rekindle some of that, long lost magic or whatever, and they realize that they're still friends, and there's a little attraction there. And so the story continues, and we get to see what Maxine and Maya are dealing with in their personal lives and their relationships. We find out this health issue that Maxine is struggling with
Mm-hmm.
that has really put her in a dark place because she doesn't really see a way out. But Christopher somehow comes to her rescue. And it's a beautiful story of two friends like reconnecting, but also people giving love a chance. And I really loved it. It was really good. Now, there's another book in this series. I don't know how many there are, but there's a book too. And I got to get my hands on it.
I love the cover.
It's so great.
It's really nice. I
It's
really
so
like that.
great.
It's
So,
like
yeah,
kind of 80s. When was it written?
this was written in where's the original? When did this come out? Oh, 2002.
Oh, why does it look so 80s?
I know it's 1985, right? Yeah, so there you have it. Perfect Timing by Brenda Jackson. I enjoyed it.
I thought you were going to say like I read Fourth Wing again and I loved it
Oh,
or
no,
something like
ma'am. So
that.
sorry. No.
I was like, what compelled you to do that?
All right, what do you got for us?
Well, I just finished this for that crazy reading challenge, and that is Little by Edward Carey, which I've been wanting to read for a really long time, and it got me a
Never
lot of
heard of that.
points. Got me a lot of points, so we read it. I found this I found this at a library book sale, clearly. So this is the story of Madame Tussaud
Oh,
from when
okay.
she's quite little until she, grows up and dies. So you see her life through. She's born in Switzerland. She ends up moving to Paris. She learns how to make all these wax figures. She lives in Versailles for a while. She gets kicked out of Versailles, which is good because then, there's the whole French
Yeah.
Revolution. And she's jailed for a time during the French Revolution. That part's very sad. There's all these like pictures throughout, so it can be quite creepy.
Yeah.
Um, it's just like it's so good, and like I like all the like tactile nature of it, like not tactile nature, the multimedia nature of it. Sorry, we've been doing this for a long time. My brain does not know how to speak words, and the story's quite compelling. Yeah, and there's just some crazy characters. Let me tell you, in this whole book, the
Oh,
crazy cast of characters. So it was quite enjoyable. I know a lot of people. I've seen a lot of different booktubers um, over the years mention this as like a favorite book, and I can kind of see it. I don't think it's going to be a favorite of mine, but
yeah,
I can see it. I can see it. It's quite enjoyable. Um, it it was nice to just like listen and knit and like
yeah.
it was good. It was a good time. So that's Edward Carey's
Okay,
Little, and I
very
think Edward
nice.
Carey does the drawings as well. I think he does. Jacket art, Edward Carey. Yeah. So it's not just the writing. He's quite talented.
I love that.
Mhm.
Wow.
We just had a
Okay.
very long pregnant pause. I don't know why. Anyway.
You were reading something, and I was
Was
looking at
I?
all these stacks of books on my desk.
Oh. Mhm. That's
Yeah,
all right. There's
I was
always
just
a lot
thinking to
of books.
myself, we just did a lot. We just did a lot. We recorded 3 episodes. It was a lot, and I'm proud of
Mhm.
us. Go us.
Mm.
Go
Yeah, I still have
us.
to edit the one for yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Me too. Me too. I
Anyway,
might edit tonight. I might edit
we're
tonight.
done. We're done. We're done with
We're done,
this.
folks. Thanks for
And
tuning
that's
in.
what matters. That's what matters is if we got the episodes recorded.
We did. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Yeah, let us know what 2025 spring releases you all are looking forward to reading. Share that with us.
Mhm.
Follow us everywhere at TBR Lowdown. Visit our website, tbrlowdown.com. That's where you can get information on our annual reading challenge, as well as looking at our 2025 book club picks. And
Mhm.
I guess that's going to do it for us. Mission accomplished. We're out of here. Drop the gates. We're out of here. Bye.